My name is Lauren. I'm 32 years old. And 2 weeks ago, my sister accidentally added me to a family group chat called Real Family Only. 800 and something messages. 7 years of history. 7 years of them talking about me like I was a joke. They called me the charity case. They placed bets on when I'd fail. They laughed when my marriage fell apart. And my own mom typed something I will never forget. At least she doesn't have kids. One less grandchild to worry about. I read it so many times I swear the words burned into my eyes. I didn't scream. I didn't call anyone. I didn't even cry at first. I just started screenshotting everything. Every message. Every reaction. Every cruel little comment. I didn't miss a period. I didn't miss a single typo. And when I was done, I sent one text. Thanks for the receipts. That's it. One sentence. And what happened next at my grandma's 70th birthday party? I don't think anyone in my family will ever forget it. Before I take you there, let me rewind a little. Because this story didn't start with that group chat. It started years ago, with me trying to belong in a family that already decided I didn't. 6 weeks ago, my phone rang at 7 a.m. It was my grandma, Eleanor. Lauren, sweetheart, I'm having a party for my 70th. I want you there. My chest tightened. Not because I didn't want to go. Because I didn't expect to be invited directly. Family stuff usually came through the group chat I assumed I'd been left out of by accident. You know, the one where I'd find out about birthdays after they already happened. The one where plans were made and somehow I always heard about them last. Of course, Grandma. I wouldn't miss it. After we hung up, I sat on my bed for a long time thinking about the last decade. Every Saturday morning driving her to cardiology appointments in downtown Columbus, Ohio. Every Sunday afternoon cleaning her house while she napped in her recliner. Every late night sitting beside her when she couldn't sleep and just needed someone to talk to. Meanwhile my younger half-sister, Madison, showed up for Christmas photos, took a couple selfies, posted them on Instagram with captions like "Family is everything." And her followers ate it up. I never said anything. What was I supposed to say? 3 days before the party, I called my mom to ask about the dress code. "Oh, just casual, honey," she said. "Nothing fancy." I believed her. That same afternoon, I stopped by her house to drop off Grandma's medication. I'd picked it up on my way home from my shift at the hospital. I work ICU, and I'm used to long hours. I'm used to exhaustion. But I wasn't used to this feeling in my gut. Mom was in the kitchen. Her phone was on the counter. A text notification popped up from Madison. I didn't mean to look, but the preview was right there. Remember cocktail dress. Photographers coming at 4. My stomach dropped so hard I felt nauseous. Casual. She told me casual. I set the medication on the counter and walked out without saying goodbye. Maybe she forgot, I told myself. Maybe she got confused. But something cold settled in my chest. That feeling you ignore for years because admitting it would change everything. The next evening, I did something I almost never do. I called Madison. We weren't close. We shared a mother but we had different fathers, different childhoods, different everything. Still, she was my sister. And I wanted to try. "Hey, Madison. Just calling about Grandma's party. Need help with anything?" Silence. Then she said, "Oh. Grandma invited you too." Too. That word hit like a slap. "She called me herself," I said carefully. Madison's voice was flat. "I mean, it's a family thing, so you know." I didn't know. That was the whole problem. What does that mean? Nothing. Forget it. I gotta go. She hung up. 20 minutes later my phone buzzed. A voice message from Madison. I pressed play, but it wasn't meant for me. Oh my God, she's so annoying calling me like we're best friends or something. She acts like she's such a VIP just because Grandma likes her. I don't even get what Grandma sees in her. Laughter in the background. Then the message cut off. A second later I got a text. Oops. Sent that by accident. Don't mind it. LOL. I stared at my screen. Don't mind it. 7 words. That's all she had. I wanted to believe it was just Madison having a bad day. Sisters fight sometimes, right? People say things they don't mean. But deep down, I knew. This wasn't new. This wasn't a slip. This was just the first time I heard it out loud. That night I lay in my apartment in Columbus, staring at the ceiling. 32 years old. Divorced. Living alone. Working 60-hour weeks in the ICU because it's easier to care for strangers than to think about my own life. Grandma Eleanor was the only person in my family who made me feel like I belonged. She never treated me like the leftover from my mom's first marriage. Never made me feel like I was tolerated instead of wanted. When I was 12 and crying because the other kids had dads at the father-daughter dance, Grandma showed up in a suit and bow tie and danced with me all night. But Grandma was 70 now. Her heart wasn't what it used to be. And I kept thinking, if I lost her, I'd have no one. Not really. The memories always came back when I was tired. 2 years ago, my husband, Ryan, and I had been married for 4 years. I found the texts on a Tuesday. Her name was Kayla. His coworker. The messages went back 8 months. I called my mom sobbing so hard I could barely breathe. Mom. Ryan's been cheating. I don't know what to do. There was a long pause. Then she said, well honey, you have been working a lot. Maybe if you were home more. I hung up. Madison's contribution came through Facebook. I posted something vague, nothing specific, just a hint that I was going through it. She commented publicly. Some people just aren't meant to keep a man. 4 likes. My mom. My Aunt Sharon. 2 cousins. 4 people in my own family laughing at the worst moment of my life. I deleted the post. Then I deleted Facebook completely. I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself they didn't mean it. Family is complicated. But Grandma called me every single day that first month. Sometimes we talked. Sometimes she just listened to me cry. Sometimes she didn't say anything at all. She just breathed on the other end of the line so I wouldn't feel alone. It's not your fault, she told me once. Don't let anyone tell you it was. She was the only one who showed up. And now, lying awake 2 years later, I finally let myself wonder if there was more going on. Was my family actually happy when I failed? Was there somewhere they talked about me? Somewhere I wasn't invited? For days before the party, around 11 p.m., I was reading in bed, trying to relax. My phone buzzed. Notification. Madison Harper added you to Real Family Only. I blinked and reread it. Real Family Only. My thumb hovered over the screen. Something cold crawled up my spine. I tapped the notification. The group chat opened. I started scrolling automatically, the way you do when you join late. And I kept scrolling. The chat was created 7 years ago. Members included my mom, Madison, Aunt Sharon, my aunt in Cleveland, 2 cousins from Cincinnati, and a couple more relatives. 8 people total. Everyone except Grandma. Everyone except me. My hand started shaking. In the corner of the screen, a number glowed. 847 unread messages. Nobody had noticed I'd been added. Nobody said anything like, oh hey Lauren is here now. Just normal messages like they were discussing grocery lists. I scrolled all the way to the beginning. They were betting on my relationship like it was March Madness. Then came the engagement. Madison, Cece is engaged. Aunt Sharon, to who does he know what he's getting into? Mom, I'll be honest. I'm surprised. Never thought she'd find someone. Madison, starting the divorce pool now. I got $50 on under 5 years. Aunt Sharon, I'll take 3. Mom, you girls are awful. Put me down for 4. My mother bet on my marriage failing. I sat in the dark with tears streaming down my face and kept reading. I searched for the date from 2 years ago, the week I told my family Ryan cheated. Madison, guys, guess what? Aunt Sharon, what? Madison, Cece's getting divorced. Aunt Sharon, no way. Finally. I knew it. Cousin Brianna, who won the bet? Aunt Sharon, hold on. 4 years and 3 months. That's closest to my 3-year guess. Madison, ugh, fine, but I was close with 5. Aunt Sharon, pay up ladies. 50 each. I stopped breathing. They actually collected money. Then it got worse. Mom, just got off the phone with her. She was crying. Aunt Sharon, and Mom, nothing. She'll get over it. At least she doesn't have kids. One less grandchild to worry about. Madison, silver lining. Cousin Brianna, honestly, who would cheat on someone that boring? Madison, right, like I'm surprised he waited this long. 47 more messages followed, analyzing my divorce like it was reality TV. Not one person asked if I was okay. Not one person said maybe we should check on her. They laughed. They joked. They cashed out. My hands weren't shaking anymore. Something had shifted. The hurt was still there, but underneath it, something harder formed. Cold. Clear. They never saw me as family. And now I had proof. I stopped reading around 3 a.m. Not because I was done, but because I knew what I had to do. I started screenshotting. Every message. Every laugh. Every bet. Methodical. Organized. Like I was charting a patient. Folder name, Real Family Only. Complete archive. And then I noticed something from 6 months ago that made my stomach twist. Madison, Grandma's getting weird. She has this notebook she writes in constantly. Aunt Sharon, what kind of notebook? Madison, IDK. Some journal thing. I saw her writing names in it. Mom, she's 69. Probably tracking meds. Madison, I saw Lauren's name in there like multiple times. I read it 3 times. Grandma had a notebook. And my name was in it. I finished screenshotting at 4:17 a.m. 847 messages. 7 years of evidence. Nobody in the chat noticed I was there. I opened a new text window and typed 1 sentence. Thanks for the receipts. My finger hovered. The party was in 4 days. Every single person in that chat would be there. I hit send. Then I left the group. At 4:19 a.m., my phone exploded. Madison calling. I declined. Madison calling again. Declined. My mom calling. Declined. Texts poured in like a flood. Madison, Lauren, please pick up. Madison, I was drunk when I added you, I swear it was an accident. Madison, please can we talk? Mom, honey, whatever you read, it's not what it looks like. Mom, we were just venting, every family does this. Aunt Sharon, don't make this a bigger deal than it needs to be. Aunt Sharon, this is private family stuff. Private family stuff. That's what they called 7 years of cruelty. More calls. More texts. By 4:45 a.m., I had 67 messages. Madison, We love you, you know that, right? Sisters joke around. Mom, please call me back, let's talk like adults. Aunt Sharon, this is why we didn't include you, you're too sensitive. Too sensitive. The woman who bet on my divorce was calling me too sensitive. I turned my phone off. Silence. Real silence. I walked to my window. The sky was turning gray. Dawn was coming. I thought about what I could do. Expose them on social media. Forward screenshots to every relative. Burn everything down. But that wasn't me. Grandma's party was in 4 days. She was turning 70. She deserved peace. I wasn't going to ruin her birthday. But I wasn't going to stay silent either. I had a plan. Not revenge. Truth. And the right moment. I set my alarm for 7 and slept better than I had in years. 3 days before the party, Madison showed up at my apartment. Full makeup. Designer bag. Tears that looked almost real. Lauren, please. Can we talk? I stepped aside and let her in. She perched on the edge of my couch like she was afraid to touch anything. I'm so sorry. You have to believe me. That chat got out of hand. I stared at her. You bet on my divorce. She flinched. That was Aunt Sharon's idea. I went along with it. I was young. You were 25. And you did it again last year when you bet on whether I'd get promoted. Her tears stopped. Something harder flickered in her eyes. Okay, fine. But you can't tell Grandma. She's fragile. This could literally kill her. I almost laughed. Now you care about Grandma's health. I've always cared. You visited her twice last year. I visited every week. I have a business to run, she snapped. You have an Instagram account. We stared at each other. Sisters by blood. Strangers by choice. I'm going to the party, I said quietly. Grandma invited me. Madison's jaw tightened. You can't do this to the family. I'm not doing anything. I walked to the door and opened it. I'm just done pretending. She stood up slowly. At the threshold she turned. You know this is why nobody likes you. You always have to be the victim. And you always have to be the villain. Guess that makes us even. Then she left. PHN 6, Koang 562. The day of the party arrived with clear skies and perfect weather. Grandma's backyard looked like something out of a magazine. White folding chairs. String lights. Catering trays. A photographer circling like he owned the place. I wore a cocktail dress. Navy blue. Simple. Clean. I did my own research this time. When I walked through the gate, my mom's face went pale. Madison grabbed her arm. Aunt Sharon spilled wine on her sleeve. They'd hoped I wouldn't show up. Mom recovered first. Lauren. You made it. Grandma invited me. Of course. Of course she did. For the next 2 hours, I was invisible. When group photos happened, I was directed to the back row. Better lighting up front, Mom said. You understand, right? When appetizers were passed, servers walked right past me. When guests asked who I was, Madison answered before I could. Just a cousin. Just a cousin. Her own sister. The photographer gathered everyone for a family portrait. Mom positioned people like chess pieces. Herself next to Grandma. Madison on the other side. Aunt Sharon beside them. Lauren, honey, can you stand behind? I stepped into the back row, partially blocked by my cousin's boyfriend. One of my great-aunts leaned over. Aren't you Diane's older daughter, the nurse? Yes. Why aren't you in the front? You should be with your mother. Before I could answer, Grandma. She moved slowly, but her voice carried across the yard when she tapped her glass. Everyone, please stay a moment longer. The entire backyard went still. Grandma didn't do speeches often. When she did, people listened. It's my 70th birthday, she said with a smile. An old woman is allowed to make a speech. Polite laughter. My mom relaxed a little. I want to talk about family, Grandma continued. About what it really means. Madison straightened her dress, ready for more praise. Specifically, I want to talk about the person who has actually been there for me these past 10 years. The air changed. I felt it before I understood it. Someone who drove me to every doctor's appointment when my heart started failing. Someone who cleaned my house every Sunday. Someone who sat with me through long nights when I was scared and couldn't sleep. My mom's face drained of color. Someone who never posted about it online. Never asked for credit. Never complained. Grandma turned and looked directly at me. Lauren, come here, sweetheart. The crowd parted. I walked forward on numb legs. Grandma took both my hands. This is my granddaughter. My real family. Madison stepped forward, smiling too fast. Grandma, that's so sweet, but we're all family. I'm not finished, Madison. Her voice wasn't loud. It was worse. It was final. Grandma reached into her cardigan pocket and pulled out a small leather notebook. Brown. Worn. Stuffed with handwritten notes. I recognized it. I'd seen it on her nightstand 100 times. I've been keeping records, Grandma said. For 10 years. Everything. And tonight, I'm going to share some of it. She opened the notebook. Her hands were steady. March 15, 2019. Lauren drove me to my cardiology appointment. Madison said she was busy. She flipped a page. August 22, 2020. Lauren cleaned my house, did my laundry, made me soup. Diane promised to visit but cancelled. The silence was absolute. January 5, 2022. I fell on the stairs. Lauren arrived in 20 minutes and stayed all night. Grandma looked up. Madison posted a spa day on Instagram that afternoon. Madison's face turned white. Grandma, I didn't know. September 17, 2024, Grandma continued. Lauren's divorce was finalized. I called her every day for a month. Her own mother didn't call once. My mom stood frozen, mouth opening and closing like she forgot how to speak. 10 years of entries, Grandma said. I wrote down everything. Every visit. Every absence. Every excuse. She closed the notebook. I know who showed up. And I know who didn't. People shifted uncomfortably. Guests looked at Madison differently now. At my mom. At Aunt Sharon. Madison's voice cracked. You don't understand, Lauren, she's not. We were just. Sit down, Madison. Not a request. Madison sat. My mom finally found her voice. Mom, please. There's been a misunderstanding. We love Lauren. We just express it differently. Do you? Grandma's eyes were steady. Is that what you call it? The backyard was dead silent. I stood beside Grandma, holding her hand, and watched my family's fake image start collapsing in real time. But Grandma wasn't done. Not even close. There's something else, she said. Something I learned 6 months ago. Tom, would you please explain? And that's when Uncle Tom, Aunt Sharon's husband, stood up. Uncle Tom adjusted his tie like he was about to testify in court. Aunt Sharon grabbed his arm. Tom, what are you doing? He looked at her, expression unreadable. The right thing. Finally. He turned to the crowd. 6 months ago, I accidentally saw a group chat on my wife's phone. It was called Real Family Only. A few people gasped. Madison's face tightened. I read through it, Tom continued. 7 years of messages mocking Lauren. Calling her names. Betting on her failures. Celebrating her divorce. The crowd shifted. Whispers started spreading. Aunt Sharon's grip on his arm tightened. Tom, stop. I told Eleanor everything, Tom said, voice steady. I showed her screenshots. Grandma nodded once. I've known for 6 months, she said quietly. I've read every message. The ground seemed to tilt under my family's feet. Madison stood abruptly. That's private. You had no right. 847 messages, Grandma replied. I read them all. Charity case. The bets. The celebration when Lauren's marriage ended. Grandma's voice cracked for the first time. My own daughter wrote that she was relieved Lauren didn't have children. My mom started crying instantly. Mom, I didn't mean it like that. Those were your exact words, Diane. Grandma's voice was calm again. The crowd looked horrified. Some guests looked embarrassed, like they'd walked into something they weren't supposed to see. Good. Now they knew. I waited, Grandma said. I waited for the right moment. I wanted everyone here. Everyone who matters. She looked around the yard. Because I want you all to know who my family really is. And I want you to see what happens when people betray it. Grandma reached into her other pocket and pulled out a folded document. 3 months ago, I had Tom update my will. Aunt Sharon whipped around. You did what? Tom's voice stayed flat. I'm her attorney. And her family. Madison lunged forward. Grandma, you can't just. I'm 70 years old, Madison. Sound mind. Clear heart. This is my decision. She unfolded the paper and read loud enough for everyone. My house will go to my granddaughter, Lauren Mitchell. A wave of murmurs rolled through the crowd. Madison looked like she'd been slapped. The remaining assets will be divided equally among my children and grandchildren, as is fair. Grandma lifted her eyes to my mom. This isn't punishment, Diane. It's balance. Lauren gave 10 years of her life to this family without asking for anything. The least I can do is make sure she's not left with nothing. This is insane, Aunt Sharon hissed. Lauren isn't even. She's not really. Not really what? Grandma's voice went cold. Not really family. Is that what you were going to say? In front of everyone. Aunt Sharon's mouth snapped shut. Lauren is my granddaughter. My blood. And more importantly, she showed up every single time. Grandma turned to the crowd. That's what family means. Not group chats. Not Instagram posts. Not betting pools on someone's failures. She folded the document carefully. I've made my decision. It's legal. It's done. Madison started crying. Real tears this time. My mom stared at nothing. Aunt Sharon looked like she couldn't breathe. And me. I just held Grandma's hand. Grandma turned to me. Do you want to say anything, sweetheart? 60 faces stared at me. Some sympathetic. Some shocked. Some of them were my own family. I stepped forward. I didn't yell. I didn't curse. I didn't call anyone names. I said it quietly. I'm not going to scream. I'm not going to insult anyone. That's not who I am. Madison wiped her face. Lauren, please, we can fix this. I have 847 screenshots, Madison. There's nothing to fix. She flinched like I slapped her. For 7 years, you had a chat called Real Family Only. You excluded me. You mocked me. You bet on my failures. She stood there helpless. You can't just. I can. And I am. I walked away. My mom sat alone on a white chair, staring at nothing. The woman who used to be the queen of every gathering was suddenly invisible. Aunt Sharon was screaming at Uncle Tom near the catering table. Words like betrayed and ruined everything floated through the yard. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt free. Grandma came up beside me and hooked her arm through mine. Help an old woman inside, she said. I walked her into the house, away from the wreckage. Are you okay, Grandma? She smiled. Best birthday I've ever had. PHN 10, Koang 562. The fallout came in waves. First wave was social media. Someone from the party posted about it. Not the full story, but enough. Most dramatic family revelation today. Group chat exposed. Bets on divorce. Quiet granddaughter finally got justice. It spread fast. Madison lost thousands of followers within a week. Comments flooded her posts. Is this the girl who bet on her sister's divorce? Wait, is this real? Unfollowed. She turned off comments. Then made her account private. Then disappeared for a while. Second wave was the community. My mom's social circle started pulling away. Her book club. Her brunch group. The women she did charity events with. Busy became the default response to her invitations. Word travels fast in small towns, Uncle Tom told me over coffee a week later. He'd moved into a hotel. Aunt Sharon's blaming everyone but herself. Are you two done? Probably. He stared into his cup. I should have said something years ago. I convinced myself it wasn't my business. Why now? Because I saw the messages about you. About your divorce. He looked up. I have a daughter. Imagining someone treating her that way. He didn't finish. He didn't need to. That same night I got a text from my cousin Brianna. The same cousin who laughed at my marriage ending. Hi Lauren. I don't expect you to forgive me. But I'm sorry. I got caught up in it and I didn't think about how it would feel to be you. I was wrong. It wasn't much. But it was something. 3 days after the party, I drove to Grandma's house. She was in the garden with the notebook open on her lap. Still writing. Still keeping track. Grandma. She looked up and smiled. There's my girl. I sat beside her on the weathered bench. The same bench we'd sat on 100 times. Are you upset with me? She asked. Upset? Why would I be upset? Because I knew for 6 months. I could have told you sooner. Saved you from reading that chat alone at 3 a.m. I actually thought about it. Why didn't you? She set down her pen. I wanted the right moment. If I told you privately, they would deny it. Call you dramatic. Say I was getting senile. She shook her head. But in front of 60 people with Tom backing it up, there was nowhere to hide. You planned this. I'm 70, sweetheart. I've learned a few things. She took my hand. Never act when you're angry. Wait until you're calm. Then you'll know what you really want. What did you really want? Justice for my granddaughter. And truth in the light where everyone could see it. She squeezed my fingers. They hid in the shadows for 7 years. Time to turn on the lights. We sat in silence. Birds chirped. The sun warmed our faces. I love you, Grandma. I love you too, Lauren. More than you know. She picked up her pen again. Now let me write today down. Lauren visited. Good conversation. She's going to be okay. She was right. I was. 2 weeks later, my mom knocked on my door. She looked smaller somehow. Older. No makeup. Hair unbrushed. She held a photo album against her chest like a shield. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. She sat on my couch, the same spot Madison sat on. She opened the album. Baby pictures. My first steps. Kindergarten graduation. "I don't know where I went wrong," she whispered. "You were my first baby. I loved you so much. Then what happened?" She stared at the photos like she was watching someone else's life. I was ashamed of my first marriage. Of failing. When I married Madison's dad, I wanted to start fresh. "And you?" She finally looked up. "You were a reminder of everything I wanted to forget." It wasn't an excuse. But it was honest. "That's not my fault, Mom." "I know." Tears ran down her cheeks. "I know that now." We sat there with a lifetime of hurt between us. "What do you want?" I asked. "To fix this. To be your mother again. That's going to take time." "I know. I'll do whatever it takes." 3 months. No contact. "After that, we can try slowly." She blinked hard. 3 months but Christmas. You had 7 Christmases in a chat that called me charity case. My voice didn't shake. 3 months isn't long. She flinched, but she didn't argue. At the door, she paused. "I am sorry, Lauren. I know words don't mean much right now, but I am. Then prove it in 3 months." She left. I closed the door. It wasn't forgiveness. But it was a door left open. Maybe that was enough. Madison tried everything. Calls. Emails. Showing up unannounced. Gifts. One morning a huge flower arrangement arrived with a card. "I miss my sister. Please. M." I donated the flowers to the hospital. 3 weeks after the party, a handwritten letter showed up in my mailbox. 6 pages. I read every word. She wrote about being jealous of my relationship with Grandma. About feeling second best even though she had better clothes, better grades, and the perfect social media life. She admitted she started the chat because she wanted a place where she was the favorite. "I know I can't undo 7 years," she wrote. "But I want you to know I understand now. I was cruel because I was scared." I sat with that letter for a long time. Then I wrote back. 1 page. Clear. Final. "Madison, I received your letter. I understand you have reasons. Reasons aren't excuses. I don't hate you. But I don't want a relationship with you. I'm not going to spend my life proving I belong. I wish you well. Please don't contact me again. Lauren." I mailed it the next morning. She never responded. Maybe she understood. Maybe she gave up. Either way, the result was the same. One less person in my life who never really wanted me there. It should have felt like loss. Instead, it felt like breathing. 3 months later, I'm writing this from Grandma's living room. My living room now, sort of. She insisted I stay in the guest room until she kicks the bucket. Her words, not mine. She's outside in the garden with the notebook open, pen scratching away. Still keeping track. My mom and I have talked twice. Short conversations. Careful. She's trying. Actually trying. Whether it's enough, I don't know yet. But the door is open. Madison is a stranger now. I see her online sometimes. Her account is public again. She rebuilt it around healing and growth. Maybe she means it. Maybe it's just another performance. Either way, it's not my concern anymore. Uncle Tom and Aunt Sharon finalized their thinking about you. That simple sentence felt more caring than anything I'd gotten from my own mother in years. Then my Aunt Melissa from Kentucky called. I almost didn't answer. But I did. Lauren, sweetheart. Are you okay? I laughed, but it came out bitter. No one asked me that for 7 years, Aunt Melissa. She went quiet. I know. I'm sorry. I didn't know what was going on. That was the theme, apparently. I didn't know. They didn't know because my mom and Madison controlled the narrative. They were always the ones who spoke first, smiled the biggest, posted the photos, told the story. And if you tell the story long enough, people start believing it. Even you. Aunt Melissa cleared her throat. Your grandma told me some things. About how much you've done for her. I didn't do it for credit. I know, honey. That's why it matters. After I hung up, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open. I had the screenshots saved in a folder. I hadn't opened them since that night. I didn't want to. Because reading them felt like swallowing glass. But I did something else. I started writing down my own timeline. Not theirs. Mine. The things I remembered. The days I showed up. The times I was ignored. The moments I swallowed my feelings and told myself I was being dramatic. I wrote about being 12 and watching my mom walk into the father-daughter dance with Madison and her dad, while I stood by the wall pretending I didn't care. I wrote about being 17 and asking my mom if she could come to my choir concert, and she said she had a headache, but then posted a selfie from dinner with Madison that same night. I wrote about being 26 and losing my job and feeling terrified, and my mom's first reaction being annoyance, not comfort. I wrote about being 30 and begging for support when my marriage collapsed, and being told it was my fault for working too much. I wrote it all. Not for revenge. For clarity. Because for years, I kept questioning myself. Maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe I take things personally. Maybe I'm imagining it. But when you put it on paper, you can't unsee it. And that's when I realized something that made my stomach flip. They didn't just dislike me. They needed me to be small. They needed me to be the charity case. Because if I was strong, if I was respected, if I was loved, then their whole little world didn't work anymore. That night, I got another text. This one was from my mom. It was short. Can we talk? No apology. No accountability. Just can we talk? I stared at it until my eyes blurred. Then I typed back one sentence. Not yet. And I turned my phone over. 2 days later, I got a knock on my door. Not a polite knock. A hard knock. Like someone thought they could knock their way back into my life. I opened it. And there stood Aunt Sharon. No warning. No call. Just her, standing in my hallway like she owned the place. Lauren, we need to talk. I didn't step aside. I didn't invite her in. I crossed my arms. Do we? Her eyes flicked over me, judgmental as ever. You embarrassed us. I almost laughed. I embarrassed you. She leaned forward. That was private. That was family business. Family business. I repeated the words slowly like I was tasting something rotten. You called me charity case for 7 years. You placed bets on my life like it was a game. And you're mad because people found out. Her mouth tightened. You could have handled it privately. I held her stare. I did handle it privately. For 7 years. Aunt Sharon's nostrils flared. You always act like you're better than everyone else. I blinked. Me. Better. I took a step closer, voice calm. I work 60 hours a week in an ICU. I take care of dying strangers. Then I go take care of Grandma. I never asked you for anything. I never even asked you to like me. So no, Sharon. I don't think I'm better. But I do think I deserved basic human decency. Her face flushed. You're turning grandma against her own daughter. I felt my stomach twist. I didn't turn grandma against anyone. You did that when you made a group chat called Real Family Only. You did that when you laughed about my divorce. You did that when you treated her like a prop for Instagram posts. Aunt Sharon's voice dropped into a hiss. If you don't stop this, you're going to regret it. I tilted my head. Is that a threat? She froze. No. I'm just saying, you're making enemies. I smiled slightly, and I surprised myself again. I already had enemies. I just didn't know it. Aunt Sharon's eyes narrowed. You think you're so smart. You think you won. This isn't about winning. I stepped back and opened the door wider. But this conversation is over. She stared at me, breathing hard. Then she turned and walked away down the hall, heels clicking like she was furious the world didn't bend for her anymore. I shut the door and leaned against it, shaking. Not from fear. From the realization that I had finally done something I'd never done before. I protected myself. I didn't explain. I didn't apologize. I didn't soften the truth to make someone else comfortable. I just ended it. That night, I drove to Grandma's. I told her everything. She listened quietly, then nodded. Sharon's always been a bully, she said. I stared at her. Why didn't you stop it sooner? Grandma sighed. Because I kept hoping they'd grow up. Then she reached for my hand. But you know what I learned? What? Some people don't grow up. They just get older. A week after Aunt Sharon showed up at my apartment, Madison posted again. She was back online. The post was a photo of her sitting on a couch, holding a mug, looking sad in an expensive, staged way. The caption was long. It talked about healing. About forgiveness. About family trauma. About being misunderstood. It didn't mention me by name. But it didn't have to. People in the comments were fighting. Some defended her. We don't know the full story. Family stuff is complicated. Everyone makes mistakes. Others were ruthless. So you bullied your sister for 7 years. You bet on her divorce. You called her charity case. I stared at the post for a long time. Not because I wanted to respond. Because I realized something. Madison wasn't sorry. Madison was embarrassed. She was sorry she got caught. And she was doing what she always did. Performing. Making herself the victim. I closed the app and tossed my phone on the couch. Then I did something that felt like a tiny act of rebellion. I went to Target. Not because I needed anything important. But because I wanted to do something normal. I wandered through the aisles, picked up a candle I didn't need, and bought a ridiculous amount of snacks. When I got home, I sat on my couch with a blanket and turned on a dumb reality show. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like I had to earn the right to relax. 2 days later, my mom texted again. Please. I'm begging you. Just let me explain. I didn't answer. Because there was nothing left to explain. They did what they did. 7 years of it. You don't accidentally do something for 7 years. That's a lifestyle. That weekend, I went to Grandma's and helped her clean out her garage. It was full of old boxes, holiday decorations, and random stuff that had been sitting there since I was in high school. We found a dusty tote labeled Lauren. I froze. Grandma smiled. Open it. Inside were things I hadn't seen in years. My old dance recital program. A photo of me in my nursing school scrubs. A birthday card I made her when I was 10. A newspaper clipping about my graduation. Your mom is doing it too. My chest tightened. What is she saying? That she didn't mean any of it. That Madison started it. That you took it out of context. That Grandma's being dramatic. I stared at the wall. It didn't even hurt anymore. It just made me tired. Tom cleared his throat. I wanted you to know in case it gets back to your job. I exhaled slowly. Thank you. Then I asked, because I had to. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know the truth. And because I owe you. You don't owe me anything. Tom's voice cracked a little. I do. I watched them treat you like garbage for years and I said nothing. I thought staying quiet was staying out of it. But staying quiet was taking their side. I didn't respond right away. Because I didn't want to give him forgiveness he didn't earn. But I also didn't want to carry more bitterness than I had to. So I said the only honest thing. I appreciate you calling. He exhaled. That's fair. After we hung up, I sat in silence for a long time. Then I opened my laptop again. I started drafting a message. Not a social media post. Not a public blast. Just something I could send to the few relatives who might hear lies. I kept it short. Hi everyone. I'm aware there are rumors going around about what happened at Grandma Eleanor's party. I'm not interested in arguing or explaining myself to people who already decided I'm wrong. But I will say this. Nothing was fabricated. Nothing was taken out of context. Grandma made her decisions with full clarity. Please respect her and stop spreading stories. Lauren. I didn't send it right away. I stared at it for a while. Then I realized something else. I didn't need to defend myself. People who loved me would ask. People who didn't would believe whatever made them comfortable. So I deleted the draft. And instead, I texted Grandma. Want me to bring you coffee tomorrow? She replied instantly. Yes. And bring those cinnamon donuts you like. I smiled. That was the real world. That was my world. Not the group chat. Not the rumors. Not the performance. The next day, I brought coffee and donuts. Grandma sat on the porch with her notebook, as usual. She patted the seat beside her. Sit. I sat. She handed me a donut and said something I didn't expect. Lauren, you're going to build a better family. I blinked. What do you mean? She smiled. Not with them. With people who deserve you. That sentence stayed with me. Build a better family. For so long, I thought family was something you got stuck with. Like a birthmark. Like a scar. Like a permanent sentence. But Grandma was right. Family can also be something you build. Slowly. Carefully. With people who show up. That week, Jasmine invited me out for dinner after our shift. Just tacos. Nothing fancy. Normally I would have said no. I was always too tired. Too busy. Too guarded. But I said yes. We went to a little place near Short North in Columbus. The kind of spot with loud music, cheap margaritas, and sticky tables. It was perfect. Jasmine talked about her kids. Her chaotic schedule. Her plans to move in with her boyfriend. Then she looked at me. So, you doing okay for real? I nodded, then shook my head. I don't know. She laughed. That's the most honest answer ever. I took a sip of my drink. I keep feeling like I should be more devastated. Jasmine leaned in. Girl, you were devastated for years. You just didn't have proof. That hit me right in the chest. She was right. I had been grieving my family long before the group chat. The group chat just confirmed it. Jasmine raised her glass. To proof. I laughed and clinked my glass against hers. To proof. That night when I got home, my phone buzzed. A new message from Madison. I thought you said you didn't want contact, but I just want you to know Mom is falling apart. She's not eating. She's crying non-stop. She misses you. I stared at the screen. And I felt nothing. Not hatred. Not rage. Just exhaustion. I typed back. This is not my responsibility. Then I blocked her number. I sat there for a second, letting the finality settle in. And you know what I felt. Relief. Because blocking someone isn't cruel. It's choosing peace. A few days later, my mom emailed me. A long email. Paragraphs and paragraphs of explanation. She wrote about stress. About family dynamics. About how Madison influenced her. About how she didn't mean it. She wrote about how she was sorry. But the email didn't include one thing I needed. Accountability. It was still about her feelings. Her regret. Her shame. Not about my pain. So I didn't respond. Instead, I went to Grandma's house and helped her bake banana bread. She mashed bananas with a fork, slow and steady. I measured flour. The kitchen smelled warm and sweet. Grandma glanced at me. You look lighter. I shrugged. I blocked Madison. Good, Grandma said instantly. No hesitation. No guilt. I laughed. You don't play around. Grandma smiled. I'm too old to waste time on people who treat love like a game. We slid the banana bread into the oven. Grandma wiped her hands on a towel. Then she said quietly. Lauren, I need you to promise me something. My chest tightened. What? When I'm gone, you don't go crawling back to them because you're lonely. I stared at her. Grandma. Promise me. I swallowed hard. I promise. She nodded, satisfied. Good. Because you're not alone. You have you. And you're enough. A few weeks later, the first real test came. It was a Saturday morning. I was at Grandma's house, organizing her pantry. She was sitting at the table with her notebook, as usual, sipping tea. Then the doorbell rang. Grandma didn't even look up. That's your mother. My stomach dropped. How do you know? Grandma smirked. Because she always rings twice when she's nervous. The doorbell rang again. I froze. Grandma set her mug down. Do you want me to handle it? I shook my head. No. I'll do it. I walked to the door and opened it. My mom stood there holding a grocery bag like it was an offering. She looked nervous. Smaller. Fragile. Lauren. I didn't step aside. What are you doing here? She swallowed. I wanted to see your grandmother. And you. I glanced back at Grandma. Grandma didn't move. Didn't rescue me. She just watched. Letting me choose. I turned back to my mom. This isn't your house anymore. Her face flinched. I know. I brought groceries. For your grandma. Grandma called from the table. I already have groceries, Diane. My mom's eyes filled with tears. Mom, please. I'm trying. Grandma's voice stayed calm. Trying would have been calling Lauren when her marriage ended. Trying would have been not joining a group chat that mocked her. Trying would have been acting like a mother. My mom's shoulders shook. I made mistakes. Grandma nodded. Yes. You did. Then she added something that made my heart pound. And mistakes have consequences. My mom looked at me, pleading. Lauren. Please, I felt like I just survived a storm. After that day, something changed. Not in my family. In me. I stopped waiting for the next betrayal. I stopped bracing for impact. I started living like my life belonged to me. I picked up extra shifts when I wanted. I said no when I didn't. I started going on walks in the evening, even if I was tired, just to feel the air and remind myself I wasn't trapped. One night, Grandma and I sat on the porch again. String lights glowed softly above us. The neighborhood was quiet. Grandma flipped her notebook open. I rolled my eyes. You and that notebook. She smiled. It's not just for keeping score. Then what is it for? She tapped the page with her pen. It's proof of love. I frowned. Proof. She nodded. Love isn't words. Love is showing up. Love is action. Love is what people do when no one is watching. I swallowed hard. Like you. Grandma reached over and squeezed my hand. Like you. We sat there, quiet. Then she said something that made my chest tighten. You know, Lauren, you're going to fall in love again someday. I laughed, a little bitter. Yeah, right. Grandma smiled. You will. But this time, you'll pick someone who treats you like you're worth keeping. I stared out at the street. I don't even know how to trust anymore. Grandma nodded. Trust isn't a switch. It's a door. And you don't have to throw it open. You can crack it. Just a little. For the right people. I thought about Jasmine. About my coworkers. About the neighbors who smiled at me and asked how Grandma was doing. About the people who didn't share my blood but still showed kindness. Maybe Grandma was right. Maybe I could build something better. 2 months later, Grandma had another doctor appointment. Same cardiologist. Same office downtown. I drove her like always. In the waiting room, Grandma leaned toward me and whispered. Look at you. What? You're sitting up straighter. I blinked. Am I? Yes. You're not shrinking anymore. That hit me harder than anything else. Because I realized I had been shrinking my whole life. Making myself smaller so my mom could feel bigger. Making myself quieter so Madison could be the star. Making myself invisible so nobody would have to deal with me. But I wasn't invisible anymore. Not to Grandma. Not to myself. And the funny thing was, once I stopped shrinking, I started noticing how many people actually saw me. After the appointment, Grandma insisted we stop for lunch. We went to a little diner near German Village. Grandma ordered pie like it was a life requirement. She took one bite and sighed dramatically. Life is too short to skip pie. I laughed. Then my phone buzzed. A new message from an unknown number. It was Madison. Of course it was. I'm pregnant. Mom says you should know. Grandma will be so happy. I stared at the screen. My stomach didn't drop. My heart didn't race. I just felt distant. Like she was texting me news about a stranger. Grandma noticed my face. Who is it? I turned my phone over. No one. Then I picked up my fork. And kept eating. Because for the first time, I wasn't letting them control my day. I was free. And I wasn't giving that up. A week after Madison texted me from that random number, the family tried a new tactic. They stopped apologizing. They started recruiting. It began with my cousin Paige again, the one who had texted me support after the party. She called me on a Sunday afternoon. Hey Lauren. Do you have a second? Yeah. What's up? She hesitated. So. Aunt Sharon is telling people you're keeping Grandma from the family. I felt my stomach twist. Of course she is. Paige rushed to add, I don't believe her. I just wanted to hear it from you. I exhaled slowly. I'm not keeping Grandma from anyone. I'm not standing in front of her door like a bouncer. Paige laughed awkwardly. Yeah, I figured. I kept my voice calm. Grandma is 70. She's fully capable of choosing who she wants around her. And if she doesn't want them around, that's between her and them. Paige went quiet for a second. Okay. That makes sense. Then she said, I think they're panicking. Panicking about what? Paige lowered her voice like she was sharing gossip. The house. The will. The fact that people know what they did. I didn't respond. Because she was right. They weren't panicking because they lost me. They were panicking because they lost control. Paige sighed. I'm sorry you're dealing with this. I shrugged even though she couldn't see it. I'm not dealing with it. Not anymore. After I hung up, I sat on my couch staring at the wall. That sentence echoed in my head. I'm not dealing with it. It felt powerful. Like a door locking. That evening, I went over to Grandma's and found her in the kitchen making soup. The kind with noodles, carrots, and a ridiculous amount of black pepper. I leaned against the counter. Family's saying I'm keeping you from them. Grandma snorted. Are you now? I smiled. Apparently. Grandma stirred the pot like she was stirring a cauldron. If they want to see me, they can call me. They can show up respectfully. They can apologize. She glanced at me. You know what none of them want to do? What? Change. She said it so simply, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. And maybe it was. Because it's easier to accuse you of being cruel than to admit they were. I watched her pour soup into 2 bowls. Grandma, do you think they'll ever actually mean it? She shrugged. Some will. Some won't. I took the bowl she handed me. And if they don't? Grandma looked at me, eyes sharp. Then they don't get you. That night, I drove home feeling strangely steady. Like the ground under me finally stopped shifting. Because the truth was, they could say whatever they wanted. They could call me dramatic. Sensitive. Manipulative. But I knew what I lived through. And I knew what I saw in that chat. Receipts don't lie. People do. The next thing I didn't expect was how fast my life started filling up once I stopped chasing theirs. I didn't suddenly become this glowing, healed version of myself overnight. I still had bad days. Days where I'd see a mother and daughter laughing in a grocery store and feel that ache in my chest. Days where I'd come home from a brutal ICU shift and wish I had someone waiting for me. But something changed. I stopped wasting energy trying to earn love from people who treated me like a punchline. And that extra space in my life started filling up. With normal things. Real things. I started having dinner with Jasmine and a couple coworkers once a week. Nothing fancy. Just takeout, cheap wine, and laughing about how doctors somehow managed to lose their own stethoscopes. I started going to a Saturday morning yoga class even though I was stiff as a board. The instructor kept saying things like release what no longer serves you. I used to roll my eyes at that stuff. Now I actually believed it. One afternoon, I found myself standing in a bookstore for almost an hour. Not because I needed anything. Because I wanted to. I picked up a journal. A real one. Not the notes app on my phone. A journal with a cover that felt solid and clean. When I got home, I opened it and stared at the blank page. Then I wrote one sentence. I am allowed to have peace. It looked strange in my handwriting. Like I was writing it for someone else. But I kept going. I wrote about the group chat. About the party. About Grandma's notebook. About the way my mom's face looked when Grandma read that line about not calling me during my divorce. 2 months after the party, Grandma had a minor health scare. Nothing dramatic. But enough to remind me that time is real and it's not gentle. I got a call at 2 a.m. Grandma had chest pain and called an ambulance. By the time I got to the ER, she was stable, sitting up in bed, annoyed at the hospital gown. "They put me in this thing like a sack of potatoes," she complained. I sat beside her and tried not to cry. Grandma reached over and patted my hand. "Stop that." "Stop what?" "That look. Like you're about to fall apart." I swallowed hard. "I thought I was going to lose you." Grandma's eyes softened. "Not tonight." Then she smirked. "Besides, I'm too stubborn to die in a hospital gown." I laughed through the lump in my throat. The doctor came in, explained it was likely angina, adjusted her meds, told her to take it easy. Grandma nodded politely, then the second he left she leaned toward me. "Take it easy. He says that like I'm a teenager." I rolled my eyes. "You are 70, Grandma. And fabulous." We stayed there until morning. And you know who didn't show up? My mom. Madison. Aunt Sharon. Any of them. Not one call. Not one text. Nothing. And that should have hurt. But it didn't. It just confirmed what I already knew. They didn't show up when it mattered. They never did. When Grandma was discharged later that day, I took her home and tucked her into bed. She waved me off like I was being dramatic. "I'm fine," she insisted. I sat on the edge of her bed anyway. "Grandma, you scared me." She sighed. "I know." Then she reached for her notebook on the nightstand. Of course. She opened it and wrote something down. "What are you writing?" She didn't look up. "Today. Lauren showed up. Again." I blinked fast. "You don't have to write that." "Yes I do." "Why?" "Because one day, when you doubt yourself again, I want you to have proof." I stared at her. "You really think I'll doubt myself again?" Grandma looked up then, eyes steady. "Honey, you were trained your whole life to doubt yourself. It takes time to unlearn that." She shut the notebook and set it down. "But you will unlearn it." I took a deep breath. "Okay." Then Grandma added, "And Lauren. Yeah. If any of them show up pretending they care because they heard I was in the hospital, don't let them guilt you." I frowned. "What makes you think they will?" Grandma shrugged. "Because people like that don't show up for love. They show up for optics." And sure enough, the next day, my mom texted me. "I heard your grandma wasn't feeling well. Is she okay?" No apology for not coming. No accountability. Just a message to make herself look like she cared. I stared at it. Then I handed my phone to Grandma. Grandma read it, snorted, and handed it back. "Tell her I'm alive. And still disappointed." I laughed. Then I typed exactly that. "She's alive. And still disappointed." My mom didn't respond. PHN 24, Koang 562. The last major wave came right before Thanksgiving. Because holidays are when families love to pretend everything is fine. They love the photos. The matching pajamas. The forced smiles. They love the illusion. And I knew, deep down, they were going to try to pull me back in. Not because they missed me. Because it would look bad if I wasn't there. A week before Thanksgiving, I got an email from my mom. Subject line, family dinner. No hello. No how are you. Just family dinner. She wrote a few lines. "We're doing Thanksgiving at my house this year. Grandma is invited. I'd like you to come too." We need to move forward. Move forward. That phrase made me want to throw my laptop across the room. Move forward means pretend it didn't happen. Move forward means shut up so we can have our holiday. Move forward means make it easy for us again. I didn't respond. Instead, I drove to Grandma's house that night. She was watching an old game show, yelling answers at the TV like they could hear her. "Grandma, Mom invited us to Thanksgiving." Grandma didn't even blink. "No. Just no. Just no." I sat down beside her. "She wants to move forward." Grandma rolled her eyes. "She wants to move past consequences." "That's not moving forward. That's running away." I nodded slowly. "So what do we do?" Grandma smiled. "We do our own Thanksgiving. Just us. And maybe Jasmine and her kids," Grandma added casually. I blinked. "Jasmine." Grandma waved her hand. "You talk about her enough. She sounds nice. Invite her." I laughed. "Grandma, you're trying to adopt my coworkers now." She grinned. "Yes. I am. And that's how my Thanksgiving plans changed." I invited Jasmine. She was shocked at first. Then she cried a little. Then she said yes. On Thanksgiving morning, Grandma and I cooked together. She made her famous stuffing. I made mashed potatoes. Jasmine brought her kids, who immediately ran through the house like tiny hurricanes. Grandma loved it. She sat at the table smiling like she'd been waiting for this kind of chaos. We ate. We laughed. We watched football. Jasmine's youngest spilled cranberry sauce on the carpet and started crying. Grandma waved it off. "It's fine. This house has seen worse." Then she leaned toward the kid and whispered loudly. "If anyone asks, blame Madison." I almost choked on my drink. Jasmine laughed so hard she had tears in her eyes. And in that moment, I felt something settle in my chest. This was what I wanted. Not perfection. Not fake smiles. Just warmth. Realness. People who didn't treat love like a competition. That night, after everyone left and Grandma was dozing in her recliner, my phone buzzed. A message from my mom. "I can't believe you didn't come. You're tearing this family apart." I stared at it. Then I deleted it. Because the truth was, I didn't tear anything apart. I just stopped holding it together by myself. By the time Christmas rolled around, the dust had settled. Not because my family suddenly became better people. But because they ran out of ways to pull me back in. They tried guilt. They tried anger. They tried pretending nothing happened. None of it worked. Grandma and I decorated her house together. She insisted on using the same old ornaments she'd had since the 80s. Some of them were ugly. Like truly awful. But she loved them. "This one reminds me of your grandpa," she said, holding up a little wooden Santa with a crooked hat. "Grandpa would hate that," I said. Grandma smiled. "Exactly." Christmas morning, we made cinnamon rolls. We sat in our pajamas and watched cheesy holiday movies. Grandma kept falling asleep halfway through and then waking up to ask who the villain was. It was peaceful. It was quiet. It was safe. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I was missing something. I felt like I had something. That afternoon, Grandma handed me her notebook. My stomach tightened instantly. "What?" She patted my hand. "Relax. I'm not giving you a lecture." "Then why are you giving me the notebook?" She smiled. "I want you to read the last page." I opened it carefully. The handwriting was neat, familiar. It was dated that morning. December 25th. Lauren made cinnamon rolls. She laughed. She looked happy. She is free.